Hello, chismosas y chismosos, and welcome back to Bay Area Housewife of True Crime, where I like to tell the stories of the real cucuys and lloronas of the world. We are at part 3 of the Scott McAlpin case. As a reminder, topics may be triggering. Viewer and listener discretion is very strongly advised. The people mentioned are innocent until proven guilty in court. Scott McAlpin had only been out of jail for 4 days before he beat his ex-girlfriend Anastasia Melenchenko for the umpteenth time, and this time he killed her. He strangled her after an argument in a park in the East Bay, stuffed her body into the trunk of his Honda del Sol, and drove while drinking vodka all night until he was arrested in Marin. After he was arrested for the murder of Anastasia, he tried to commit suicide and appeared in court with bilateral bandaged wrists. I think he was driving out while in on vodka, got himself hammered, and was ready to get rid of her body. His bail was set at $5.04 million. This tragic, true-life horror story caused so much pain and trauma for the Melenchenko family. They moved out of San Francisco to the East Coast. On October 24th of 2005, 25-year-old Scott McAlpin was arraigned for murder charges for the death of forever 22-year-old Annie Melenchenko. At trial, his defense attorney, Barney Berkowitz, argued that the murder had not been premeditated and did not qualify as first-degree murder. He said that his client was merely reacting to harsh words that Annie had used to provoke him, and he strangled her in the heat of passion. Scott was so devastated because they were planning a future together and had recently gotten back together. Attorney Berkowitz said that she provoked him by saying that she was going to send him back to prison so that she could have sex with his friends. Berkowitz said that the killing occurred after the couple had celebrated Scott's birthday together. Scott confronted Annie and told her that he had seen her being intimate with another man at a parking garage. Annie said that that was true, and he hit her twice, at which point she told him that she was glad that he hit her so that she could send him back to prison so she could be free to have sex with his friends. This infuriated him, and he didn't think. He just wrapped his hands around her throat and strangled her. District Attorney Dara Cashman submitted into evidence hundreds of letters, emails, and instant messages Scott had sent Annie throughout the years. The DA said, and I quote, "He wrote reams and reams of letters that made a clear picture of an obsessed person who needed to control her," end quote. The district attorney was also able to provide the fact that Scott had served 2 years in jail prior to her death on felony convictions against her. Attorney Cashman also argued that the very nature of the way he chose to kill her itself showed his intent, as it can take up to 5 minutes when strangling someone for them to die, and Scott had ample of time to consider his actions. The DA told the jury the idea of murder was percolating in his mind for a very long time. Scott and Annie had been in an on-again, off-again relationship for 4.5 years. He was so controlling that he even dictated when she should and shouldn't wear makeup. He would threaten to kill himself when she refused to see him. Even after he killed her, he continued to write letters and poems to her that he couldn't live without her, and the fact that she died was all her fault. Scott admitted to killing Annie, but not without saying that it was not his intent to kill her. In December of 2008, a Martinez, California jury convicted the then 28-year-old Scott McAlpin, a real-life cucuy, guilty for first-degree murder for the October 22nd, 2005 strangulation of forever 22-year-old Anastasia Annie Melnichenko. Even though her son was being convicted of murder after 2 days of deliberation, Scott's mom stood up and yelled in anger towards the jurors. Bonnie said, and I quote, "You know what you did." Reminds me of the Elsie Heidi feud. If you know, you know. The bailiff detained her for contempt but was shortly released. The jurors were so scared that they asked the officers in the court that they be escorted to their cars. In March of 2009, Contra Costa County Judge Charles Ben Birch sentenced him to 50 years to life in prison. As of this recording, he's now about 45 years old and being held at San Quentin, where he belongs. But lucky for him, his family still gets to see him, and he even has a Facebook. At his sentencing, when given the opportunity to speak, he did not. Instead, he had his attorney, Barney Berkowitz, read a letter out loud that read in part, and I quote, "If you can hear me, Anastasia, I want you to know I'm sorry. Please have mercy on my soul," unquote. If you or someone you know is a victim of domestic violence, please, please, please reach out for help before it is too late. We've reached the end of today's episode over at Bay Area Housewife of True Crime. As always, I accept and respect your opinions. I welcome all comments, questions, case suggestions. Thank you so much for listening, for viewing, for being here. If you like my content, do me a solid and rate my show. You can find full episodes of these recordings on my Spotify and Apple Podcast at Bay Area Housewife of True Crime. You can also send me an email if you have any case suggestions, comments, whatever, at yayareahousewife@gmail.com. I'll see you chismosas y chismosos in the next. Adios.